Thank you, Bishop Burns. And now the highlight of tonight's event. Our keynote speaker tonight is Most Reverend Gregory Kelly, the 5th Bishop of the Diocese of Tyler. And it is my joy and honor to introduce him. An alumnus of Holy Trinity Seminary, class of 1982, Bishop Kelly was ordained to the priesthood of the Diocese of Dallas in May 15th of 1982 at his home parish. After 4 years of parish ministry, he returned to University of Dallas as a chaplain for close to a decade. I see the lasting impact of that ministry in him, in the way that he so naturally engages the students at University of Dallas on the several occasions that I have been privileged to take evening walks with him around the campus when he was a resident here. And after his ministry as vocation director for the Diocese of Dallas, he was appointed the founding pastor of St. Gabriel Parish in 1996. In January 2008, he was named vicar for clergy by the now Cardinal Kevin Farrell, an appointment that began his 17 years of residency at Holy Trinity Seminary, part of which he served as an interim rector. On December 16, 2015, the then Monsignor Kelly was appointed auxiliary bishop of the Diocese of Dallas by Pope Francis. He became the 5th Bishop of Tyler on Monday, February 24, 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me to welcome back to Holy Trinity Seminary the Most Reverend Gregory Kelly.
You know, as the Bishop of Tyler, I have 6 seminarians here, and I know with Father Vincent that they're in good hands. I mean, I'm just so proud of Tim and how he has responded to his vocation in leading the Holy Trinity Seminary as the rector. I also want to just make a couple introductions to the table from Tyler. I wanted to just let you know about my Vicar General, Father John Gomez. Maybe you just stand, I think they're right over here. Father Hank Lanick, who is the rector of the Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception, also the vicar for priests. Should I say like Father Vincent, and please hold your applause until the end? Father Justin Braun, who is the pastor of Sacred Heart in Texarkana and vocation director. Probably has the record for coming the furthest. Father Stephen Chabaria, who is the parochial vicar at the cathedral, also associate vocation director, and chaplain of the St. John Paul II Campus Ministry Center at UT Tyler. Also Holy Trinity Seminary alum from the class of 2019, I believe. So welcome, Father Stephen Chabaria. Peyton Lowe is the chancellor, and his wife, Dr. Allison Lowe, is here as well. And Jack and Mona Gabriel. Jack is the chairman of the Diocesan Finance Committee, and along with Mona, they are the head of the Equestrian Order of the Knights and Ladies of the Holy Sepulchre in the Diocese of Tyler. And also the 6 seminarians who I thought we should have paused and at least clap for the 6 Tyler seminarians. Isaac Carney, Stephen Kirk, John Larry, who's sitting here in front, Nate Hoey, Jason Baca, Christian Mata. I know they're in good hands here with you. And I'm very grateful again to be back with Bishop Burns, who I worked with for about 8 years, and just I valued so much that relationship, and to watch the way in which he leads the diocese. And one of the first times he hasn't called me the defector. He would always say, you're the defector. I also want to just echo a congratulations to Monsignor John Bell, who served the diocese for 34 years as a judicial vicar, and as has been mentioned, in some very difficult years. A great canonist, a great pastor, the founding pastor, a neighbor, a gourmet cook. I was the recipient of some of his gourmet meals. He would organize those for pastors in the northern part of the diocese before we would hear confessions. And I don't want to go for dinner even if I couldn't stay for confessions, because he was just such a wonderful cook. But just congratulations on 50 years, and I think you've earned all your gray hair too, just through your service to the Diocese of Dallas. In trying to just think of a focus for just some reflections. Because really the reason I'm from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and when I grew up there, we didn't grow up with warm feelings towards people in Texas. I remember in high school there were a group of Texas businessmen that were buying an acreage west of Colorado Springs, and they were saying, we're going to annex this to the state of Texas. And it was just part of their marketing ploy, but that didn't go over well with the locals, including myself. In the last couple of years, I'm over it now, but I just, I didn't really want to come to Texas, but I heard about Holy Trinity Seminary. I knew about the University of Dallas. I had some cousins that had gone here in the mid-'70s, and I applied, and I was accepted as an independent seminarian. Not something you can do anymore. But I applied directly to the seminary. I had no sponsoring diocese, and I came and I interviewed with the new rector, Father Michael Sheehan, who retired and then passed away as the emeritus Archbishop of Santa Fe. So he was the rector for the whole 6 years that I was here. And he interviewed me on a Saturday morning in the middle of July and accepted me. I think I was half hoping that they would reject me because I had a girlfriend and I was trying to figure that part of my life out. And it seemed like the closer I came to coming into the seminary, the closer I felt to her also. I was hoping that either the seminary would not accept me, and that would be a sign, or she would break up with me, and that would be a sign. But neither one of those happened, and this was just something that was on my mind, that was nagging at me. And I walked in the door here in August of 1976, at the beginning of my junior year in college. I'd gone 2 years to Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado, and I just felt at home. I just walking into this place, I don't remember anything that happened during orientation except that we had to get up entirely too early in the morning. Bishop Duca, we overlapped 2 years in the seminary, and I always had this great admiration for you because of how you carried yourself as a priest, as a bishop, and you also made an invitation to me to come and have a big Italian meal at your home. I remember your grandmother was there also, but I just felt welcomed by you, and I'm so grateful for that. And we were both assigned to All Saints in Dallas as our first assignments 4 years apart, so I got to know some of the same people that he knew. But really, I stayed in Dallas. I didn't really sign up so much for the Diocese of Dallas as I did for Holy Trinity Seminary and the University of Dallas. I mean, I felt coming to the University of Dallas, in fact, I just wrote this a little reflection recently to the Tower magazine, that I had come late to a banquet after having filled up on junk food. That just the education at the University of Dallas, just something that just captured my imagination. It just, the intellectual seriousness of it. There were Cistercian priests who had come as refugees from Hungary. There was a priest who came from Argentina, Enrique Nardoni, one from Vietnam, and they just had this first-class faculty, both in philosophy and theology, and I just felt captivated by that. It was also interesting, there was a little bit of an anti-intellectual sentiment among some of the seminarians. There was a line that we would pray once a month from Psalm 127 that would say, God gives to his beloved while they slumber. And I said, well, let's just do that. Or there was a story that went around, and it came to, there's Dr. Patrick, who taught church history to me, and I heard the second or third hand where he had overheard a seminarian saying, I don't want to learn all this philosophy and theology, I just want to help people. And he would respond by telling the story about a surgeon who didn't want to learn all that anatomy and physiology, he just wanted to cut. And so again, I had a lot of reasons for not coming, and at the time there were sometimes in some of those years over 100 seminarians at Holy Trinity Seminary. I think 1 year some of them stayed at the Dominican Priory up the hill. Oh, I forgot to make one other introduction, and I meant to do this, I didn't write it down, but Father Christian Corona over here, newly ordained for the Diocese of Tyler. I ordained him on June 28th, and also an alum of Holy Trinity Seminary. So congratulations, just off to a great start. In fact, we do this seminary send-off before all the seminarians go back to the seminary, and a man from the cathedral parish there where Father Christian is assigned, along with the other newly ordained priest, Father Chris Orjaka, said, he kind of leaned over to me and said, "If that's what the guys are like coming out of the seminary, we're in good shape." And I think part of that also is the experience here at Holy Trinity Seminary, which is such a solid thing. And I thought to talk more about intellectual formation, but I kept coming back to this other thing, which really, because one of the things I've been thinking a lot about in Thailand, I wrote a pastoral letter about this June for Pentecost, the little phrase that Paul writes to the Galatians, where he says, I'm in anguish until Christ be formed in you. And I've just had this, what is it that forms Christ in us? And Holy Trinity is at the heart of that for me. I mean, I've lived a third of my life in that building. 6 as a seminarian, 7 as vicar for clergy, then vicar general. And just being there, I've just always felt such a sense of being at home and at peace in that place. And I kept thinking about that, and also, I kind of kept wandering around different lines, but there's also a question I've been asking myself, well, what is the grace of this moment? What is it that we do? And then thirdly, thinking about my experience here, there was something that centered every aspect of my formation here at Holy Trinity Seminary and University of Dallas, and it was an encounter with a person. And I remember this little phrase that is in the first paragraph of Pope Benedict XVI's first encyclical, Deus Caritas Est, in which he says, being Christian is not the result of an ethical choice or a lofty idea, but an encounter with an event, a person, which gives life a new horizon and a decisive direction. And so there was this life-changing encounter that happened to me my 5th year as a seminarian here, my 3rd year of theology, what would now be called third configuration. And it was actually a series of encounters, but it centered on one that gave my life a new horizon and a decisive direction. And it came with the face and the voice of a 63-year-old school sister of Notre Dame named Maureen O'Keefe. I don't know if any of you would remember her. She passed away in 2002, left here in 1987, where the Highland School is over here. It used to be the mother house for the southern province of the School Sisters of Notre Dame. And at the time I met her in 1981, the year I was supposed to be ordained a deacon, she was a counselor for Catholic Charity. And I think she saved my life, or rather Jesus saved my life through her, but she's part of the body of Christ. And so an encounter with her, in looking back on that, I began to see this was an encounter with Christ. When I was sent to see her in January of 1981, 3 months before my diaconate ordination, I was just felt in turmoil. And I was thinking of leaving the seminary. I was going to take a year off to try to figure things out. Although whenever I would think about that, I don't know what I would do during that year, except avoid the issue. But I didn't see a way forward. I didn't feel ready to be ordained a deacon in 3 months. And so I talked to our retreat master. Every January we would have a house retreat, and the retreat director that year was Monsignor Michael Jamail from Beaumont. He was the vicar general down there for, I don't know, probably as long as Monsignor Bell was judicial vicar here, 34 years. So I went to talk to him about this. And talking to him was like talking to what I would imagine talking to the prophet Elijah would be like. Had that kind of look in his eye. And as he taunts the 450 priests of Baal and on Mount Carmel, and says to the Israelites, how long will you straddle the issue? If God is God, worship him. If Baal is God, then worship him. And I think I had straddled an issue for about as long as I could without realizing it. And so Monsignor Jamail, I think, also helped save my life by sending me to talk to Father Sheehan, who then sent me to Sister Maureen. I think they kind of ganged up on me. I think of it in some ways as a conspiracy of grace. But I think in essence I was feeling victimized by another seminarian who I thought had a problem. And in hindsight, as I look back on it, I can see that I was basically playing the victim. I was just avoiding conflict, not taking responsibility for my own actions, blaming someone else who I thought had a problem, and whom I thought I should help, being a good person as I was. I was always a good seminarian, for what that's worth. And so Sister Maureen pointed out to me in the first couple of minutes of my first meeting with her that he was not the problem, that I was the problem. Right away I felt worse. I felt less hopeful. But her reaction surprised me. She said, "Good. Now that you know this, you can do something about it." In other words, I could take responsibility for it. And she proceeded to help me do something about it, to make decisions about it, which, though painful, were life-giving to me, freeing. Often her communications to me were prefaced with 2 words, "Now look." And then she would say, and I felt compelled to look. And I think up to that point in my life, although I had never articulated to myself, I was probably a good Pelagian, that God loves you and you are good, and I was good, humble but good. And when you're messed up, he waits for you to fix it, maybe gives you a little grace to fix it on your own. If it's your bed, if you made the bed, lay in it, that kind of thing. And then you can bring it to him once you fixed it, or just go to confession. But that doesn't fix everything. But Sister Maureen loved me when I felt helpless, when I felt ready to give up. She was a beacon of hope. I think part of what I was thinking also is this being the year of hope, that I began to think, well, who are the sources of hope in my own life? And right at the center of that was Sister Maureen O'Keefe. And to use a current word, she accompanied me. She coached me. She stayed with me. So I went to Tyler for the first time in the summer of 1981. It was still part of the Dallas Diocese. I spent 2 months out there with Monsignor Milam Joseph. And she said to me before I left, "Come back and see me in the fall." So I did. And I complained to her about how my supervisor, Monsignor Joseph, because he told me at the end of the summer evaluation that I did not take the initiative in going out to other people to greet them. I held back, that if they came and talked to me, I would talk to them. He said, "They're not there to minister to you, you're there to minister to them." So I knew I wasn't going to get an A. And I was a good student, humble but good. So when I complained to Sister Maureen about my evaluation, she asked me what he had said. I'm so glad he didn't give me a pass. And after I told her, she said, "Now look, he gave you some really good information. Let's work with that." And that's what she did. She coached me. She said, "You do this, you do that. You go and you introduce yourself. You say, 'Hello, I'm Deacon Greg.' You put your hand out there. You don't wait for them to come to you. Just practice." And she also always expressed the confidence that I could learn and grow even when I did not see that myself. And through all that, my initial interaction with her in 1981, I was ready to be ordained a deacon. In April of 1981, as Monsignor Bell said, we were ordained right there in the seminary chapel, myself and 6 other men, and ready to be ordained to the priesthood the next spring, May of 1982. And felt in my heart the freedom to do that, and to give myself over to that, and felt the rightness of it, that this was really my vocation, and that I could not go other places. And I often thought of her, because she really helped me through the first couple of years of priesthood, and she helped me get started. And I'm so grateful to God for her, although I would go to see a spiritual director after I was ordained a priest, and on the wall behind him, he had these ugly orange chairs in the seminary. I don't know where they got these chairs, but he had this big poster of a Raggedy Ann doll with her head halfway through one of those old-fashioned washer wringers, and the caption said, "The truth will set you free, but it will make you miserable first." And that was very much my experience, that I had been given this grace to begin, and I remember standing at the back on more than one occasion at All Saints Church. My very first Sunday there was Father's Day, June of 1982, and feeling at peace at home. And the verse from Psalm 122, I think it is, we shall go up with joy to the house of the Lord. And I think the Eucharist has been the other source of ongoing hope, that the Lord is with us and that he is moving towards us, fulfilling his promise to us, and also challenging us to continue to grow. And I thought of a phrase that came from another University of Holy Trinity Seminary and University of Dallas alum, Bishop Danny Flores. He wrote about 15 years ago, he said, "Memory is the special place of grace." Augustine in his Confession reads the book of his life through the light of the grace of conversion. Indeed, the overarching argument in the 13 books of the Confession proposes that only in the light of grace can the book of experience be properly read. Apart from this light, the book of life is an eccentric, egocentric, and for this reason a solely sorrowful tale. In the converting light, the sorrow gives way to joy precisely because the memory is not about Augustine nor about us, but about the Lord, who is now perceived to have been present there. And it seems like it's a gift that I continue to see the Lord's presence in this. And having been invited by Father Vincent to come and give some reflections, my reflection kept centering around that. And thinking, how is it that Christ has formed us? That's one way. And I think also in this new position as the Bishop of Tyler, which I've been so grateful for, and so grateful to many of the people on this table over here who have been with me and have helped me get started. I think I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, to come up with a plan. And I was doing exactly what I would tell new pastors in Dallas not to do. I said, just wait, just get to know people. You don't have to make any changes. And for some reason I was putting this pressure on myself to do that. And they pointed that out to me. And I haven't even been around to see the whole diocese yet. There are 53 parishes, 14 missions. I haven't visited all of them yet. There's 6 Catholic schools. There's a new one that has only 17 students. When I went to celebrate a Mass there back in September, I was literally preaching to the choir because the whole student body was the choir. A lot of driving, similar to Dallas in the fact that we have just enough priests and no bench. My Vicar General, Father John Gomez, is the bench. And maybe another priest who just got an R1 visa will be able to help out as well. We have 17 seminarians, 6 here. A major focus of is going to be promoting vocations and promoting formation at all levels, a major theme of the Synod here, I think, as well. The Diocese of Tyler will be 40 years old in February of 2027, so we're just beginning to come up with some kind of plan to celebrate that, but also to meditate on what is the grace then of this moment. How is it that Christ is now being formed in us? What is the challenge of that? It seems to me, and especially in the light of Pope Leo's latest, or his first apostolic exhortation built on a draft that Pope Francis had begun, that it will center on the poor and on immigration, another place where the Lord has told us that he will be present and that he will speak to us. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was naked and you clothed me. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. It's I. And how is it that we allow Christ to be formed in us by listening more closely to these voices? And I thought about it, and he references Mother Teresa, St. Teresa of Calcutta, how she brought together these two things, a deep devotion to Christ in the Eucharist, from which she drew her vision to minister to those who were poor on the streets of Calcutta. And I think we have to somehow do the same thing, because our faith is basically a way of seeing ourselves as children of God, as men and women always in formation, and these men here in formation. And there's something about this whole process which is complex and beautiful. Bishop Duca was talking a little bit about his experiences, 12 years of rector, and I was a rector for 1 semester, and that was enough for me. Without a more formation in that process. But the Lord is always forming and fashioning us his heart for all of us, and until he come to birth in us. And it is a beautiful and wonderful work, and something which is meant to bring out the best in us and help us offer the best. How do we make a return to the Lord for all the good that he's given us? And in this seminary, I receive so much good. And I think to myself, well, now what is the grace now? How do I best respond to that as Bishop of Tyler? And how do I do that? And I'm so grateful for many of you this evening who said, we pray for you. And so I'm so grateful. Once in a while, I thank the people in Tyler for praying for me. Because I say, we pray for Leo, our Pope, and Gregory, our Bishop. I'm Gregory. They don't always know that. And I'm very grateful for this new call. And I look forward to continue to working with these people here at this table, the others in the room from Tyler, to continue to serve in that capacity. And so I'm so grateful to have landed in Holy Trinity Seminary and University of Dallas back in 1976, and have had the privilege of spending a third of my life here. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Bishop Kelly. Thanks for those very edifying words and gratitude for your return to HTS as our keynote speaker. And for your shepherd's heart, we have the small gift for you. It is a stole that with an embroidery of the Trinitarian symbol for you to remember your alma mater, Holy Trinity Seminary, whenever you use it. Once again, thank you for your inspiration, your ministry, your fatherhood.